Right, thought I'd shoot a video about this saw. It's been written off. Let's have an investigate as to why. Right, starts and runs, doesn't vibrate excessively. It was pulled out for checks because the chain brake wasn't working, and we'll have a look at why not later. This isn't the bar and chain that came with it, it's just an old manky set that I've chucked on just to show you that it did run. So what we'll do now is I'll go away and get my tools and we'll pull it apart. But before we do that, I haven't cleaned it up or anything. This is as it came. I've taken the chap's name off it. What do you think of the overall condition, how the thing looks? Go and get me tools, see you in a minute. So right, this is a view underneath the top cover. Same saw. And this is the view inside the top cover. Not been cleaned for a considerable time. And I cleaned this, or at least blew it out, before I ran the saw up. And of course you can clean your filter each day by getting a nice flat clean surface and bashed it on. And look, even though I've blown it out, there's still material coming out. Let's do that again. See it? Didn't blow it out very thoroughly, must have been pitted. Just gave it a pass over. Right. Chain brake wasn't working. It was basically feeling just like that, so nothing connected. Now I've cheated a bit, taken some bits out. Let's whiz this off. That's the wrong way. Undo. Oh, forgot to say, that's the inside. While running it just now has added a lot of oil to this. Damage here. Everything else present, all those have seen some wear. And the chain's been off. Some damage on here. So the chain's been run slack, has probably jumped the rails. Inside, not terribly bad. Taken a lot of crud out of here. But everything here is present and correct. Brake band is here. This is the one that came off the saw. And you might be able to see just in front of my middle finger there. There's a bit of wear on there, but that's acceptable just about. This is the cause of the fault. This is the return spring. Goes in here, connects to that, and you can see the end's broken off. It should look like that, and you see there's a bit missing. Can you see that? And if you look at the end, you'll see it's rather dirty and it's got some signs of wear. So this has been used for a period without a working chain brake. And this bit again, pretty dirty. This is the broken section. If your chain brake doesn't work for any reason, just like if this is missing, this is the chain catcher, you take the saw out of service. You don't use it. Because if you have an accident, if you get kickback and it comes in to hit any part of your body, the chain is not going to stop. Right, there's a known issue with these saws in that there's a lack of lubrication to the bearing which is under this thing here, which is the clutch drum. Brake band operates on this outer edge, And the clutch, which I'll show you in a minute, works on the inner edge. It's a centrifugal clutch. Every week you take the thing apart and you put some grease on there to counteract for the fact that the lubrication is insufficient. I think this is a design fault. And you do that by putting the chain brake on. You can't because it's disconnected and it was broke. Then you lever this circlip out. There's a video on the channel which shows you how to do this. That comes out. This comes off. I always put it on with the writing on the outside, and you see that is pretty well worn. Pull the drum off, and you can see that here, see where my finger's poking through, the shadow's falling. That's all spooled off, and there's pieces of the bearing surface have come away and they've got into the bearing. Look on the inside, see if we can catch the light, and you see lots of tinkly bits of metal stuck in here, which is the remnants of lubricant. And there's also, if you look this way, just where my shadow of my finger's falling here, see that burr? That's wear. This is the bearing, and you see where it's been running on the rough stuff. It's slightly different, it's a little bit blued, and there again little tinkly bits on it. And this is the crank. Right, clean that off, and you can just about see, let's find a pointer. There's some bluing here. This is the colour it was when it was new. There's nothing running on there. Down here you've got some spalling, and if I turn the crank, you can see what we've got here. Feel how rough it, hear how rough it is. I hope the GoPro's picking that up. Here it's smooth, this is how it should be. There's also a wear lip here, so this is wasted, so it's lost some of its diameter. Material's come off, you've got wear here as well. Basically, if you were to keep this saw going, you could replace the clutch drum and the bearing, but it wouldn't last very long. And this is going to get worse and worse and worse, because basically you've gone down through the surface of the metal, which is hardened, and you're going to keep chucking pieces off. And you can see, if we turn this, let's try the other way. Excuse the shaky camera work. It's gone round about half of the circumference. See that? Now you could use this saw for occasional use, but for use every day, especially if it's fairly hard use, if it's got to work for it to live in all the time, this is going to go through clutch drums and bearings very, very quickly. It's going to get a lot worse. This rock you see here is going to get worse, which is going to put pressure on the brake band, wear on the brake band, like you see here. This is a safety critical component, and it's going to wear the chain and wear the sprocket. So at some point this is going to fail, and this is why this saw has been written off. This is now parts, even though it runs and drives apparently perfectly well. So that's why this saw is now dead, all because it hasn't been maintained and this hasn't been greased. Lack of maintenance around here basically allows a build-up of material to soak up what oil from the chain does get flung off before it can get to this bearing, especially if you're cutting dry wood, seasoned wood, or stuff like old pallets. So you maintain your saw as you're taught on the course, not pick it up and use it, put it down, pick it up and use it, put it down, day after day after day. They need love, they don't look after themselves. Hope that was useful.